What's up, ladies and gents? It's your resident British RWBY fan here, Dan, with my thoughts, review and analysis for episode 7 of RWBY's second volume, Dance Dance Infiltration. Firstly, the usual spoiler warnings. Seriously, it's past halfway of the volume, folks. Watch at your own risk. Last week, we had the opening events of the Beacon Ball, with a host of relationships having some bumpy moments, and some much needed backstory on Yang and Ruby's family. So now we're into the final moments of said dance, as Jean tries to bounce back from disappointment, and Cinder's faction take their next step. Is it a good end to the dance? Let's find out. We open on the dance in full swing now, the leaders of our favourite Beacon teams mulling over their shared social awkwardness in a rather charming moment, where we also find out, and Jean as well, that Neptune did in fact turn down Weiss's invite to the dance, much to Jean's surprise and anger. It looks like the blonde boy wants to have a few words over Neptune's decisions, but gets distracted by Miss Nikos passing by in a bit of a downer mood. It snaps Jean out of his stride, and he follows her to a balcony, where after a compliment on Pyrrha's look, which I share, Jean gets another shock. Pyrrha, the superstar huntress in training, didn't get any invites. Pyrrha herself sees this as commonplace due to her very skills. She knows that she's talented and has been very well respected for her success. But with it, it's brought the assumption that she's just too good for many and too good to even be considered a friend. This in of itself explaining how Pyrrha gained feelings for Jean. Remember, Jean, when introduced to Pyrrha, didn't know of her stature and treated her like any other girl. Granted, he of course knew over time of her skills and how amazing she is, but he never treated her as unattainable or above him. And through their bond, Pyrrha was finally able to make some good friends. And in the end, Jean is the kind of guy that she wishes she could go to these dances with, all but saying those 3 words to admitting she has feelings for the boy. This is a really good scene once more involving Pyrrha, as we finally get why she fell for Jean in the first place, but also some more into her character and how she feels about her placement as an A+ huntress. She's not dismissive of her talent nor her glory that she got with it, but the price to pay for that in the eyes of many. And I feel really bad for her, and yet glad that she did find some good in Jean, even if the dude is thick as all hell. She leaves on that bombshell, and as Jean processes it all and looks to rectify his mistakes, only for Neptune to cut his path, Jean himself has a chance to finally vent. He's not only mad that Neptune seems to not care about the girls that he flirts with, but also the fact that he of course turned down Weiss, and yet is very calmly chatting about how there's cute girls at the dance that he still turned up to alone. He assumes that Neptune doesn't think that Weiss, the girl that Jean clearly praises strongly, is good enough for him, or that he has too many girls as options, and this irks Jean, especially with Neptune just seemingly brushing his decision off as complicated. It must have been, right? Well, it turns out Neptune turned it down because the dude can't dance. Yep, Mr. Blue Smooth can't dance. Neptune is not willing to risk his street cred and his cool approach above looking like a fool in front of others and Weiss, regardless of how she feels, or the fact that he does find her pretty cool. Yeah, that's a bit of a dick move there, man. Jean agrees, and based from his own experiences and the advice of Pyrrha, Jean snaps Neptune out of it and tells him to do what he himself should have done ages ago. Shut up, screw everything else, just be honest with how you feel and act on it, with no bravado, no overblown attempts, just talk to her. Which seems to win Neptune over, and he heads off to do just that, leaving Jean to reflect once more and make off for his own plans. This scene, if I can pause things for a moment, has unfortunately brought some conflict amongst some of the fandom, especially around the part where Neptune opts to back away from Weiss for Jean and telling him that she's all yours if he wants her. Many have seen this as Weiss being objectified and her feelings not being taken into consideration. Now, I had a good chat with Brawler, a viewer of the show and of my reviews, And from that conversation and my own thoughts, I'm gonna say this. Sadly, that phrase isn't that much uncommon. People of both genders have been treated as an object in terms of relationships, feelings, and even just the dance. And it's sadly gonna happen in the future as much as it has in the past. And while I doubt that Miles and Kerry meant it to come off that way, I just feel it was a very badly implemented line. Jean clearly does like Weiss, and while he has been stubborn as all hell with trying to ask her out, he's too much of an innocent and nice guy, I feel, to see her as that. Especially if he hasn't with an equally high-praised Pyrrha, and while Neptune is a bit of a flirt and a ladies' man, he does say that while he doesn't know much about Weiss, he does think that she's cool. Could the idea of Neptune just saying, "Dude, okay, I messed up, I'll admit it. You clearly like her and I'll apologize to her, and you can do what you want. Better?" Yes, in fact I think I might have just said it there. But in the end, it was in my eyes a very roughly added line that sadly has brought some conflict. And it is a shame as this scene has some really good development for both Jean, Pyrrha, and even Neptune. Back inside, we see Ruby and Yang looking on at the dance floor. Sun and Blake are still dancing away, as well as Ren and Nora strutting their stuff. And Penny too, who is seriously freaking adorable here with her dancing, even if it is under WatchGuard. Also, we see Jean's words having some effect as Neptune bottles up his pride to talk with Weiss. Yang and Ruby mull over the fact that they have to go back to normal plans tomorrow and it's back to work, and Ruby mentions that they'll be able to handle it, though I wonder if they could handle what comes next. We cut to someone making a bullet run through the crowd towards Pyrrha. To her surprise and many, it looks like that throwaway quip of Jean being in a dress if Pyrrha had no date stuck, as Jean is clad in a dress to make up for his idiotic ways and earns himself a laugh from Pyrrha, who kindly accepts his offer to dance. And cue the Team Juniper dance scene! Honestly, I'm not surprised this is a thing, given that Monty is a bit of a dancer, and we did see Jean dancing in a rig test. But I didn't expect it like this, at least. Backed by a rather energetic dance number from the Williams pair, it's goofy, it's a tad out there, and if Jean can dance like that from having 7 sisters, then that must have been some childhood. In the end, it's harmless and it did put a smile on my face. Back to Weiss now asking Neptune what brought about his change of mind. He himself points out that it was Jean as the source, quipping that Weiss has some good friends watching over her. Judging by Weiss's reaction from that, I wonder if she may have changed her opinion on Jean, if he's willing to look out for her like that despite the numerous times that she slammed the guy with his attempts to win her over or just in regular chat. Panning from the heroes doing a bit of Saturday Night Fever dancing and even Penny doing the robot, the dancing has left the bad guys Mercury and Emerald a chance to call in on Cinder, who looks dressed for her own fun tonight. The chat might have distracted the two from keeping watch though, as we see Ruby tries to cut outside, only to spy a figure bouncing around the roofs mysteriously, and she heads off to follow. This figure being Cinder, who sneaks away into the nearby CCT tower, no doubt up to Excuse me, I was caught off guard there. Don't touch her though, it might make her mask disappear. Cinder's packing some massive heat, pun intended, in some bad ways though, as we see her attire that she no doubt was sewing with dust from last week's episode light up, and beckons in some dust-based dual blades that cut her way through the entrance room, up the elevator pocketing some guard's scroll, and into the computer room. We have no idea what she does here though. Ruby comes a knocking to pin down Cinder, and it leads to the two coming to blows, complete with Cinder throwing some dust in the air and forming some sharpened crystals to fling at Ruby, and her blades turning into a bow with some lethal looking arrows. Sadly, Ruby can't stop her making an escape after Ironwood appears, and Cinder manages to slip into the dance hidden with a quick transform from sleek Catwoman leather to sultry ballroom beauty, ending the episode with the strike of midnight and the resident Cinderella's activity with the computers, leaving a black queen chess piece flashing. Time for the good and bad rundown now. Negatives have a bit more than last week here. First, as I hinted to just a moment ago, Cinder's mask pops on and off during the early combat at the CCT tower. It's short bursts, but still it's revealing Cinder's face, and is an animation error that really does stand out. Also, as mentioned, the scene with Jean and Neptune could have been written a lot better for me, and avoid some setback on an otherwise good bit of development for those three characters involved. And, to end the negatives, I'm kinda sad that we didn't see the RWBY girls dancing or hanging out as a group. Once Blake arrived, she had one dance with Yang, and then she ended up dancing the rest of the night with Sun, and the remaining girls ended up splitting up. At least for me, I would have liked to see them hang out, or maybe even try to cheer up Weiss after the chat with Neptune. Positives now, and I feel even with the bumps, the balcony scene was a good bit of development for Jean's maturity, Neptune's consideration for others and his attitude, Pyrrha's feelings for Jean, and how her talent is viewed by her, and it adds some more layers on top of all of them, on top of some good romance. Also, while it might have been a bit random as heck, the Team Juniper dance is just plain fun. I mean, it's not like anime hasn't done odd dance numbers before. Also, while I've never really pointed out much in good detail, the music for the dance scene is stunning and proves some more why the music team at RWBY deserve that recent Streamy Award they got, and it's great to see them do more than just action scene butt rock tracks. And to end it, it's great to finally see what looks like the end of Jean's slowly tiring mishaps with flirting with Weiss, the return of the overarching plot of Cinder's faction, and seeing the bad girl herself rocking in some action for the first time since the pilot episode. As for voice acting props of the week, I'm actually going to give it to Miles Luna. The character and the man himself might have some shaky moments here and there, but I've got some good emotion from him this time, especially showing his maturity and the general banter with Pyrrha. Overall, it was a bit of an up and down episode with some issues, but episode 7 ended up playing a rather good run. It's got its flaws, yes, but it's far from a disaster, and breaks for next week's newest World of Remnant episode with a good bookmark and at least a tease of what's to come. So, are you happy with the SS Argos ship finally getting out of rough waters? What's your feelings towards the balcony scene? And how did Cinder's time in the action make you feel? Comment away and I'll see you guys maybe next week. If not, then I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Until then, peace out.